More cities and states have decided that raising taxes on the wealthy isn't enough. Now they want to go after second homes. New York City wants a new tax on high-end second apartments. Rhode Island is rolling out the Taylor Swift tax on homes over $1 million. And in places like San Diego, they're talking about charging thousands annually just for leaving a property vacant. Democrats think it's a simple way to address budget shortfalls and housing shortages. So instead of making it easier to build more homes, they're going after people that already own them. Jonathan, you're a property rights guy, so I would think you'd have a lot of problems.
I have a huge problem with it. Brian, this is wealth confiscation. Yeah. End of story. That's what this is. I mean, this is one of the central planks of the Communist Manifesto. They want money, so they just go literally take it. Now, keep in mind, this is already being taxed. These properties are already being taxed. They're already paying property tax on this. So what's never discussed through all these usually left-leaning governments is, I don't know, spending cuts at all. Just a tiny little bit. And what they're doing is they're chasing out the productive, the job creators, the people who actually drive the economy. They're the ones that are going to be driven out of so many of these cities, New York included, when it's all said and done.
Dagan, you were fist pumping about the already paying taxes part of what Jonathan said, which is true.
You know, we have talked a lot about, well, the very left talks about a wealth tax even at the federal level, which would be unconstitutional. Good luck with that. Where they confiscate money every year. It's like if your wealth is tied up in stocks, whatever it may be, real estate, you're going to owe tax on that idle wealth every year. California is trying to do that right now. But the property tax is a wealth tax.
Yep.
That you have to pay it every year, and it is wealth confiscation. But this is double taxation on people. And I love the Wall Street Journal article refers to it as these taxes are seen as a politically attractive fix for housing and budget shortfalls because they think that it's only hitting very wealthy people. But there's an anecdote in here of a woman who lives in Nevada who owns a small condo in San Diego, and she goes to San Diego to receive medical care. And she says if San Diego passes this tax, it will hit her with additional in thousands of dollars in addition to the already $4,600 in property taxes that she currently pays. They don't think about the consequences and the personal consequences of these additional taxes. And they quote some council member in San Diego, El Rivera is the person's last name, where he says, homes should be for people to live in, not to sit empty, especially during a crisis, because it's the politicians who get to say what you do with your home.
Right.
That's the piece, Jackie, I wanted to ask you about, because, you know, there's like the tax piece where you're just confiscating wealth, but then there's this piece, which is
control.
You need to do X with Y. In this case, somebody's got to be in the thing you own. And that even goes beyond taxing. That's like super social engineering.
So also the Wall Street Journal article points this out. They say research has found limited evidence that increased taxes cause wealthy people to leave in meaningful numbers. And similar taxes, when implemented in cities overseas, great, we're following Europe, have led have led vacancies to fall as owners began renting out their second home. It is your choice, if you have a second home, what you do with it. To put a tax on people, to burden them extra, to basically, Brian, twist their arm to rent that out, is the government once again trying to tell you what to do. And it's just, you know, when you think about what is happening in these states, I was actually surprised to read that it doesn't encourage people to leave as much as you would think that it would, because if Mamdani came after me, for example, in that way, in a real egregious way that impacted my life, I would leave. I would find a way to go somewhere else because I just wouldn't stand for it. But, you know, I guess at the higher levels, people can bear this. At the lower levels, once they control you and you rent out your property, then you can give some of the revenue back to them. But it just makes me sick, especially with the fraud, waste, and abuse. You keep asking people for more and more money when you can't manage the budgets that you have. You can't make sure that money gets to those who need it and is allocated properly. Stop asking for more when you can't manage what you have.
Well, and I'll just point out, they're going to tax you on that property that's over $1 million, right? So they'll take on $5,000 a year.
Right.
Then what happens when the property falls in price? Let's say it goes down to $900,000.
You don't get a refund.
Oh, you don't get that back? No, of course not.
You
No,
don't
they'll
get a
just
refund.
lower the threshold, or they'll just pretend it's still $1 million. That's
Yeah.
all they'll do.
Yeah.
Speaking of not spending money on things you should, you've got all, because I know that you're Mrs. Muni Bond. There's all sorts of infrastructure that none of these cities fix up.
Yeah.
So, they want the taxes. And if a tax goes to making a road smooth and a street clean, that's one thing.
Right.
But if it's going to fund the latest DEI project, that's another thing.
Well, and that's where you're hitting this twice, because it was Mayor Francis Suarez of Miami, former mayor, who sat there and said, this is like the best kind of client you want. They pay taxes, but they never call the fire department. They never call the police. They never do anything. It's like a subscription software revenue. They collect revenue every year and you don't have to do anything. So you're driving them away, the people who don't use the services that you're using the tax revenue for. And then, Brian, to your point, they're actually not even using the tax revenue for the things that they're supposed to be, which is fixing up the roads, building the schools, and maybe building out an extra lane of highway when it gets busy. What's the flip side of this, though? You have a young generation that looks at the top 0.01%, and they're saying, come on, I am with you. I want less spending. This is ridiculous. But I'm wondering if there is the people who don't even notice it, and that's why they're not leaving, because it's not even it's like a rounding error on their checkbook for the extra taxes. I'm not for this. I am just saying that's where it's anger. These young people are really angry that housing is not affordable.
It's class warfare stirred up by guys like Mondami.
Yes.
I mean, think about it. He went outside Ken Griffin's house, pointed at him. I mean, isn't that doxing?
Yes.
Yes,
it is.
Yeah,
And then did you see the mayor of LA got mad when Spencer Pratt did it? And he's like, I'm just doing what everyone else is doing.
But it's the idea that politicians will say to a woman who owns a condo in San Diego, you're not using it enough, you need to get out. And we're going to raise your taxes so much, we will force you out of it. Mm-hmm. I just find that dangerously un-American.
And incredibly controlling.
Yeah.
By the way, I don't love the whole idea of baptizing envy and anger either. Sometimes we say young people are angry and envious and oh my gosh. Sometimes you need to say, well, stop being angry and envious and start living life and achieving the things you want to achieve. I think the left likes to ratify that, and that's a super dangerous thing.
Yeah, and in America,
anger never ends. It can never end.
And in America, that young, jealous person can become a Ken Griffin.
Right.
They can become a successful businessman, but they don't do it by stealing from those who've succeeded. They do it by proving their own mettle, and in America, you can.
I wanted to hear Taylor talk about not paying her property taxes at all.
There is a cohort.
We're drawing down
Taylor's
down that
tax
road.
evasion segment coming up next. No, kidding. A quick programming note.
It's not federal. You won't go to jail.
Okay,
I paid my taxes.
Now, we're